Welcome to another review. I'm Jon Berry, and today I'm reviewing Mary Poppins Returns. Mary Poppins Returns is the sequel to 1964's Mary Poppins. In case you're wondering, as of right now, that is the longest gap between a film and the release of its sequel. That's at 54 years. So if you have not yet seen the first film, you had 54 years to do so before seeing Mary Poppins Returns. My review will have two main sections. In the first section, I review Mary Poppins Returns in its own right. In the second section, I will compare it to the original Mary Poppins. I will be using original often to describe the 1964 film, even though this film, Mary Poppins Returns, is not a remake. Just wanted to kind of clarify the terminology and language I'm going to be using in here, so you know when I'm talking about original, I mean the first film. Just wanted to let you all know. Before I continue, if you find yourself enjoying this review at any time, please leave a like. Also, to stay up to date on all my non-YouTube stuff, consider following me on Twitter or Facebook. You can also check out my website or my Discord server. Links are in the description. Now, my question for you today is, what did you think of Mary Poppins Returns? Let me know your answers in the comments. And also, you can comment on anything I say in here. I really want to open up a discussion with you guys. Now, back to the review, or should I say actually into the review proper. I got to see Mary Poppins Returns in theaters on New Year's Eve, and it had a pretty decent seat. But that really has nothing to do with my review. I just wanted to share with you all how I got to see the film. Into the review proper. I enjoyed the film. I found it to be an engaging story, even though I predicted the direction of the plot. But I put that more up to dramatic irony, as the film reveals stuff to us, the audience, that the characters do not know. So, works. When used correctly, dramatic irony is great. In my opinion, it was used well in Mary Poppins Returns. In fact, I really have nothing to complain about in the film. None of the characters felt out of place, nor did any of the scenes. The songs were all enjoyable, as well as the dance numbers. Some people have said that Dick Van Dyke's cameo in dance, specifically the dance, was out of place, but for me, that was not the case. That there would be a good transition into reviewing the film in context as the original 1964 Mary Poppins, but I have a few other things to say first. Mary Poppins Returns was an enjoyable experience, and I would gladly watch it again, either in theaters or when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray or streaming service, but I have no streaming service. I enjoyed the actors' portrayal of their characters, and there I will make my transition into reviewing the film in context of being a sequel to Mary Poppins, which will be the bulk of this review. And we'll begin with probably the two main characters from the original film and pretty major characters in this film. The Banks children, or I should say the Banks children from the original film, Michael and Jane. So where these two characters start off in the film feels correct as adult versions of themselves, based off of what we learn about them in Mary Poppins and the lessons that they learn. They have fond memories of their childhood and Mary Poppins as their nanny, even though they no longer believe that all their adventures with Mary Poppins were real. Jane being a labor organizer makes sense, because as a child, because of Mary Poppins, she got to see the conditions of the poor working class, namely chimney sweeps, but a few others, and her mother was a suffragette, meaning she would have been exposed to organizing movements to uplift minority groups, even though her mother at home was a traditional Edwardian wife, that in the 1910, British wife, very stereotypical, but Jane would have been exposed to that, is what I'm getting at, so it makes sense that that's kind of what she would end up doing. And Michael, as an artist who turned to working in the banks, also makes perfect sense. In fact, it probably makes more sense. Mary Poppins, the happy childhood memories would have filled him with a good imagination, and art is a very good way to express one's imagination. But the economic depression of the 1930s, when the film is set, that being the Great Depression, or alternatively the Great Slump as they used in the film, was not conducive to many professions, including artists, and probably artists even more so because when you're poor, you're not going to spend money on art. United States, the history lesson, listen, you do try to get artists employed, but I don't know too much about how the Great Depression was dealt with in Great Britain. I know it was dealt with to some measures, but I don't know the full context. But let's get back to the film. This having Michael Banks being a struggling artist during the Great Depression allows them to use the struggling artist trope without making it seem cliche. By putting it into a historical context, it feels organic. And also the choice of having Michael get a job at the bank to make money to support his family, especially after his wife passed away, makes a lot of sense. His father was a banker. So what profession would he turn to? Banking. It's something he would know something about. So, in my opinion, it makes sense. Then there is, of course, Mary Poppins, played by Emily Blunt. And you know what? She puts more bluntness into the character than Julie Andrews did. And yes, that was intended. But it is true. It truly is true. I find Mary Poppins to be a blunt and frank character. Even though she always denies her magic, she always does it in a blunt way. While I have never read the books both films were based on, I have read that Emily Blunt played the character more accurately to the books than Julie Andrews, in context of bluntness, that kind of thing. Though this also makes story sense in the context of Mary Poppins Returns, since the film focuses more on the adult characters than the child characters, unlike the original, which I felt focused more on the child characters. Maybe it's a bit more equal focus in Mary Poppins Returns. But that is my opinion, and I think could be subject to change with multiple viewings. It changed while writing my review, and probably has changed by the time I'm recording the review and uploading it. But in short, I enjoyed Emily Blunt's portrayal of such an iconic character, and I applaud her for doing it in a way that recalls the original Mary Poppins, of the original books written by P.L. Travers, while putting her own unique take on the character in such a way that is a believable continuation of the characters from 50 years ago production-wise, and over 20 years in the in-universe timeline. Then there is Jack, played by Lin-Manuel Miranda, the person behind Hamilton. Jack is this film's Bert. The film connects Jack to Bert by having Jack be apprenticed to Bert when Jack himself was a child. This at first confused me, because Jack is a lamplighter and Bert was a chimney sweep. So you can see where my confusion comes from. But then I remembered that Bert was portrayed as a jack of all trades in Mary Poppins. Specifically, he was a one-man band, a chimney sweep, a chalk artist, and a kite seller. So the addition of lamplighter makes sense. Also, lamplighting is a much safer profession than chimney sweeps. It truly is. So, as I said, Jack is this film's Bert. But Jack is not a clone of Bert. He is his own separate character that plays homage to Bert and serves as a similar role, but in a different way. I might be finding difficult to articulate my point here because I feel like I'm ending up contradicting myself when I actually don't mean to. Regardless, I immensely enjoyed the character of Jack and his interactions with Jane, specifically. Also with the other Banks children, but I really kind of liked the Jack and Jane's interaction. It felt realistic and plausible, despite Mary Poppins having a hand in getting them to spend time together, but that's well within Mary Poppins' character. There are many more characters to talk about, but the last characters that I really want to discuss are the Banks children, specifically John and Annabelle. Sorry, Georgie, I like your character, but I really don't have anything to say beyond that. So I'm going to be probably jumping around a little bit in here about John and Annabelle Banks, but try to follow me the best you can. There are some small clues in the film that make me wonder if John and Annabelle will remember Mary Poppins' magic as real when they become adults, rather than as just their imagination. Because of the death of their mother, they grew up quicker than most children. Also, they had to deal with the Great Depression. But they are still children. They also in the film, they come to recognize Mary's magic like adults. But they do as a children. They initially don't believe it, but they do come to realize that Mary Poppins is using magic. They also realize that Mary does know about her magic, but that she pretends not to know. All of which I find interesting. The film also goes on to establish near the end that adults never remember Mary Poppins' magic. But from the first film, we know that Bert knows about Mary and her magic from before the events in the film, and likely afterwards too. The same goes for Jack in this film, probably because he knew Bert, but maybe he had his own interaction with Mary Poppins. But he clearly knows something special about Mary Poppins when she appears, which is interesting. Dick Van Dyke as Mr. Dawes winks at Mary, implying he knows something about her that the average person in the film doesn't. Don't want to try to read too much into that, but it makes me curious. Also, Jack states in the end that he will remember as he ties his balloon to his lamplighting ladder. Tying a knot is frequently symbolic of remembering something. So, additionally, through Bert, Jack, and the other working class people, it is established that those who grew up more quickly when they're children are more likely to know exactly who Mary Poppins is. I think in this film, Jack says that Mary Poppins never explains anything, or was that Bert in the previous, or did they both say it? Regardless, could this not extend to John and Annabelle as well? I'll let you decide, and even Jane as she becomes more connected with the working class. It seems to be the working class that remember Mary Poppins' magic as adults. Maybe it's because they had to grow up quicker? Let me know. And with, as I said, John and Annabelle growing up a bit more quicker too, and they're realizing that Mary Poppins pretends not to know about the magic, puts them in an interesting place, in my opinion. This all really wants me to be there another sequel to answer the questions of who remembers and who doesn't remember, along with many more questions I have but haven't addressed in this review. Though hopefully it's not another 64 years, because I would be, oh man, in 64 years, I would be, 84. I kind of want to be a bit younger when it comes out, 25 years maybe, please, at the most. I want to have these questions answered, I really do. But the very last thing I want to discuss in this film is the music. It's a musical after all. Simply put, it is not the same as the 1964 Mary Poppins music. It's still very good and powerful, but it just doesn't have the same magic for me. There's no supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, just no let me think this through. No chimchurri. I think I got that right. That's a hard one to sing. No step in time and no a spoonful of sugar. Those types of songs are just not in there. However, one song, in my opinion, is exception to the songs missing that magic. That being the open song, Underneath the Lovely London Sky, performed by Lin-Manuel Miranda as Jack. I would say it's not quite at the same level as the four songs I already mentioned, but it stands there with Life I Lead, Jolly Holiday, and Let's Go Fly a Kite. A solid song that advances the story while being beautiful and works to establish the tone of the film. Plus, it links nicely with the closing song, Nowhere to Go But Up, which itself is a very good song and has a similar feel of the magic as the original songs. But as I said, only the opening song for me really duplicates that magical feeling of the original songs in a broad sense. If that makes any sense to you. Before I forget, I really want to talk about Dick Van Dyke's scene, but then we have to wait for another video coming next week. I promise, it will be out next week. As I have a lot to say on that, and this video is already getting kind of long. The same goes for an interesting series I have involving Mary Poppins coming up this Wednesday, and I have another video in mind too for next week as well. So I got about 4 videos, including this one, based off of this one film. Pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. This video is helped made possible by my patrons on Patreon. Patreon is a platform that allows fans to directly support their favorite creators. By supporting me on Patreon for as low as $1 a month, not only are you supporting me and allowing me to create new and better content, but you will get access to my scripts, my bloopers, and any other cut content from my channel. FYI, not every video will have a blooper or will have a script or will have some kind of cut content, but normally at least one of those 3 will appear with each video. Also, down below in the description are the legal stuff and disclaimers down below, so be sure to read those if you are interested. Mary Poppins Returns is an excellent reboot of Mary Poppins. By that, I mean it has done an excellent job by continuing the story as the original, while introducing a new audience to Mary Poppins, much like Star Wars The Force Awakens did for Star Wars. If you have yet to see it, either of these, Force Awakens too, but definitely Mary Poppins Returns in the context of this review, I highly encourage you to go and watch it. And you know what? Watch both Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins Returns. They're really both excellent musical films. They really are. So thank you for watching my latest video. New videos come out every week, so consider subscribing and turning on notifications if you want to be notified by YouTube of when I release new content. Feel free to check out the video or the playlist on screen now. Lastly, have a good day, or good night, wherever you are. Have a good one.